Jesus, and I want to just highlight a few things that Jesus will never change. Jesus will never change in regard, number one, to his position. This is good to be reminded of, in good and in bad. In times of certainty and uncertainty, he does not change in where he's seated, his position. One of my favorite verses in the whole Bible is in Hebrews chapter 1. And in verse 3 it says this: the Son is the radiance, speaking of Jesus, the Son is the radiance of God's glory and the exact representation of God's being. I love that. He's not a mini God or wanting to be God. He is God, fully God, and he's the exact representation. Then it goes on, sustaining all things by his powerful word. And then it says, after Jesus had provided purification for our sins. I love that. It means that he has done it. It's past tense, but it has future ramifications. He has provided purification for all sin. Gives us hope for our future. We are forgiven. And Jesus has done it all. But then it says he sat down at the right hand of the majesty of heaven. Jesus sat down. His position is he's done it all. He's now seated at the highest place at the right hand of the majesty of heaven. His position hasn't changed. It will never change in light of what we're facing, in the good and the bad, in the certainty and the uncertainty, in the shaking and when things are good. Jesus' position has never changed. He's seated at the right hand of the majesty of heaven. There is a conclusiveness about this text. There is conclusiveness about this statement. It means confirmation that Jesus is who he says he is because of what he's done and because of where he's seated. It also means his work is complete. Let that sink in, friends, that Jesus' work here on earth is finished. He has no longer an earthly mission. His earthly mission has been fulfilled, and now he's gone to be seated in the highest place, and now he's interceding on our behalf. So he's totally aware that there's nothing more for him to have done. He completed the task. The fact that he sat down, his work is finished. To sit at the Father's side is to declare that his earthly mission is both complete but also successful. He has done what's needed to be done. And that's got to give us confidence that his position will never change. It also means he's conquered. He's overcome the world. He's overcome his enemies. I love that picture that Jesus sits while Satan roams. The devil's roaming to and fro to try and mess up what Jesus has done. But Jesus is totally aware and realizing that his role is finished and the devil can't mess up what Jesus. He's secure in his role. That's why he's seated. And the devil roams, but Jesus is seated in complete understanding. He's done it all. Jesus is confident in his victory. While Satan works furiously in a vain attempt to oppose and prevent God's eternal plans, Jesus knows his victory is what matters. He has conquered, and that will never be changed because his position is unchanging. And I love this, that he's crowned Lord of all. He is King of kings and Lord of all. He has done it all. The Bible tells us that Jesus is not coming back as some lamb to the slaughter. The book of Revelation tells us he's coming back as this righteous king. He's coming back for his bride, and he's coming back as this judge to judge the world. But he's coming back in full glory, full splendor. He's triumphant. And so the thing I want to highlight again out of this truth of the immutability of Jesus, he is seated where he's seated. His position will not change in the good and the bad, in the certainty and the uncertainty. So let us take faith in that and understand Jesus cannot change in his position. No.